I hear? Aha! I have a voice. Most of you heard me, but I'll say it again. Good morning to those here and those online. Good morning. Welcome to the service of worship at the Unitarian Universalist Church of Tucson. My name is Watercolor Golightly, and I am your worship associate this Sunday. Here we strive to be very diverse, colorful, beautiful, wonderful, and all those things. We say it and we say it again that our goal is to become as varied as the bloom of the Sonoran Desert. So whoever you are, whoever you've been, you are welcome here. And whoever you are becoming, you are welcome here. We invite you to come. Bring your whole self today. Be with us here, now, in this moment. We no longer require masks, but if you feel comfortable in a mask, you are welcome to wear a mask. Let's protect each other. Our community has shown an overwhelming desire to stay vaccinated in order to protect us all, and we really appreciate that. We ask if you're not feeling well to view us from home. It's a wonderful way to participate when, you just want to stay in your slippers all day. And it's an option that our wonderful AV team has made possible. So always know that no matter how you're feeling, there's a way you can arrive. There are, for those that are new, welcome. We have social hour across the way. Over there we have 2 gender non-specific bathrooms. We have a non-specific bathroom back here and 2 gender-specific bathrooms through the lobby if you're looking for those. And again, welcome, 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 whoever you are.
When I was growing up in Unitarian Universalist youth and young adult communities, we would make covenants every time a new group met. A covenant is simply a way we agree to treat each other when we are together. And there was something that was almost always on those covenants. It was a shorthand for a larger thing I'll explain, but it was just oops and ouch. We're agreeing to say oops and ouch, which is a really simple way to describe naming quickly the moments when we experience harm and when we cause harm. So ouch is the, oh, that didn't feel right. And oops is the, sorry, I did something that made you not feel right. Today we are talking about cultural misappropriation, which is a big topic. Some of you are more or less familiar with it. I'm exploring cultural misappropriation as Unitarian Universalists, how we do it, how we can avoid it. For those of you not familiar, cultural misappropriation is defined as when a dominant culture adopts or exploits a marginalized culture's cultural fixtures without the original community's consent. So taking something from a culture as your own without asking or without being trained, without it being offered. So as we bring ourselves into this topic, I want to invite you into a litany of oops and ouch written by Atina O. Danner, embodying this idea that we all make mistakes and we all experience harm, and we can name that with really simple words. So our AV team will bring up the litany in a moment. I invite you to read the indented and italicized lines. I will read the plain font. I receive your ouch with openness and curiosity. I receive your oops with acceptance and empathy. I offer my ouch with hope and trust. I offer my oops with humility and courage. I release my ouch with immeasurable faith. I release my oops with purpose. I release your ouch with promise. I release your oop with my eyes and heart open.
I invite you to join me with saying our words of chalice lighting from Reverend Joe Cherry. If we have any hope of transforming the world and changing ourselves, we must be bold enough to step into our discomfort, brave enough to be clumsy there, loving enough to forgive ourselves and others. May we, as a people of faith, be grateful for strength to be bold, so brave, so loving.
The Sufi poet Jalil ad-Din Rumi wrote over 30,000 verses, many of which have inspired songs. And the song that many UUs have known and loved for a long time, that's in our hymnal, we discovered in the last 10 or 15 years, tended to upset many Muslim-identifying and Sufi-identifying Unitarian Universalists, in part because it edited the poetry instead of just singing the whole thing. So today we're going to sing the whole thing. The words that are new to anybody that knows the song are the ones on the bottom. And the melody that we'll put to that is, though you've broken your vows 10,000 times. Would you sing that for me? Though you've broken your vows 10,000 times. So the song can intersperse that, and you can fit that in anytime you want. If you're in the middle of the song, you get bored with the rest of it, just start singing that if you choose, because it works. It's lovely in that way. But the way that I'm going to do it now is singing it through in unison, and I'm going to add this as a refrain before the bottom line as a refrain before and after. So let's start with that, and then we'll go into the song. Some of you know it. If you don't know the song, you'll catch it. Please rise as you are able. Bum, bum, though you've broken your vows 10,000 times, come, come, whoever you are, wanderer, worshiper, lover of leaving, ours is no caravan of despair. Come, yet again come. Though you've broken your vows 10,000 times, come, come, whomever you are, wanderer, worshiper, lover of leaving, ours is no caravan of despair. Come, yet again come. Thank you for singing so wonderfully. I'm going to do something that I intended to do at first and then thought 15 minutes ago, when only about 20 people were in the room, that this was a bad idea. I'm going to do this. This half of the room, would you break your vows 10,000 times? This half of the room, would you come, whoever you are? After we get through it, we're going to switch. So it'll work like this. Though you've broken your vows 10,000 times, though you've broken your vows 10,000 times, will be your part as you sing the melody. Here we go. I'm going to start with them, and then we'll come in. Though you've broken your vows 10,000 times, again. Though you've broken your vows 10,000 times, though you've broken your vows 10,000 times, come, come, whoever you are, wanderer, worshiper, lover of leaving, no caravan of despair, come, yet again come. Everybody in the bottom line, though you've broken your vows 10,000 times, though you've broken your vows. Keep that going this side. Come, come, whoever you are, wanderer, worshipper, lover of leaving. Ours is no caravan of despair. Come, yet again come. Come, yet again come. Come, yet again come. Thank you.
Whenever I do this part, I always think of my favorite Shakespearean quote from Constance, from The Life and Death of King John. And she says, "My grief is so great that no supporter but this huge firm earth can hold it." And she takes a seat, a queen, in the dirt. Our earth is strong, like we say every week. It can hold our pain, our joy, our love, and our anger. And we here have a shared bowl to hold our collective joys and sorrows. The bowl is strong enough. The earth is strong enough to hold those big rocks that we put in that show the collective mourning, collective joy, all the big stuff. But also there's room in the cracks for the smaller stones that signify our individual hopes and dreams and joys and concerns and sorrows. We pour water, so first let us remember those desert people who come to this place, who came first to this land and this place. The word hohokam comes from the Tohono O'odham people. And it means those who came before. So let us honor those who came before, and let us honor those that we know the names of, the Tohono O'odham, the Yaqui, and all the tribal entities. We who live in the desert know that water is life. So let us remember those that are walking in the desert right now without resources, without water, in the heat, under the sun. We also bring to mind those that are seeking to assure greater access to water in desert, like our ministry partners, No More Death. When we pour the water from the jug, that's just like the ones they leave in the desert for people to find, decorated by our children, decorated with love, to show that this is safe, this is sacred. Drink here, drink deeply. If you have a joy or sorrow, I invite you to go to menti.com. The code will be on the screen. For those of you at home, just go to menti.com and we will read it here out loud so we can share it with everyone. If you're here in the sanctuary, Brian Moon has a device ready. We can type it in if that is an easier path. And for those that are present, I invite you to come and select the stone that signifies your grief, your joy, your sorrow, and let it create ripples with our stones in the water. The ripples are ripples of hope.
I'll read our mentee responses. From one among us, in the last month, my father-in-law has been diagnosed with rare blood cancer. My 14-year-old dog passed away, and my wife is being laid off after 18 years of service at her job. Wow, what a lot, friend. And yet, I remain hopeful. My brother is in hospice. I love you, Jimmy. Prayers of comfort to Jimmy and all who love them. Thoughts and sorrow for a family health concern that remains unspoken. Grateful that I can join from home today. Thank you. It's good to be with you too. Sean Thomas is both our joy and our sorrow. Joy as I await my favorite cousin to come and visit with his husband. Yay! Joy for having spoken to a number of close friends at length this past week, sharing our joys and sorrows. How lucky, friend. Grateful to have a treatable condition diagnosed this week. Joining you in that gratefulness. I invite you now into a spirit of meditation, contemplation, prayer, whatever is your own way of centering, listening in. And if you'd like, listen to these words of prayer this morning from Reverend Dr. Susan Zahusky, who writes, day by day, month by month, year by year, we are confounded with all that we do not know, that we do not understand, that we do not grasp. Sometimes we are humbled by this knowledge and say, God, it is too wonderful for me to comprehend, but I know this universe is more grand and more beautiful than I could ever have imagined. And I give thanks for the blessing of being here and seeing, hearing, experiencing, and sensing all that is so wonderful around and in me. Sometimes, though, we are saddened by this knowledge and say, oh, merciful Spirit, we need to have the burden of hurt and suffering removed from us. Grant us the courage, the wisdom and fortitude to bear the pain of living. Send us those who will carry our burdens for a short while, and send us those who will comfort us with their healing words and thoughts. Sometimes we are angered by this knowledge and say, in the name of justice and compassion, if it be in our power, give us the strength and ability to right the wrongs, for we do not, nor does any person in the world deserve this. Sometimes we are made joyous by this knowledge and say, Spirit of life, who blesses our world, we rejoice and cheer for our glorious life. And sometimes we are made curious by this knowledge and say, holy and inexplicable is this life. I have no idea what happened or how it happened, but somehow, some way, something changed, and I am free to explore new ways of being. Please, always, let me continue to search for the unknown in myself and others.
The Canadian composer Brian Tate was inspired by a Paul Gauguin painting in a Boston museum when he penned this next tune. The lyrics that will be on the screen in a moment are in sections, and I'm going to sing each section twice all the way through, and I'm going to sing it top to bottom, but then I will sing it again. It's a song that is designed for you to sing whatever you want and lean into that. So those of you that know the song, after you've sung it once, sing the verse, sing the section that speaks to you today, or just follow along with me. Where do we come from? What are we? Where are we going? Where do we come from? What are we? Where are we going? Where do we come from? Where do we come from? Mystery, mystery, life is a riddle and a mystery. Mystery, mystery, life is a riddle and a mystery. Where do we come from? Where are we going? Where do we come from? Where are we going? Where do we come from? What are we? Where are we going? Where do we come from? What are we? Where are we going? Where do we come from? Where do we come from? Mystery, mystery, life is a riddle and a mystery. Mystery, mystery, life is a riddle and a mystery. Where do we come from? Where are we going? Where do we come from? Where are we going?
Our reading comes from Anglican Deacon Max Warren, who was General Secretary of the Anglican Church Missionary Council in 1963 when he wrote these words. Our first task in approaching another people, another culture, is to take off our shoes, for the place we are approaching is holy. Else we find ourselves treading on another's dream. More serious still, we may forget that God was here before our arrival. We have to try to sit where they sit, to enter sympathetically into the pains, the griefs, and joys of their history, and see how those pains and griefs and joy have determined the premises of their argument. We have, in a word, to be present with them.
I took communion in a Catholic church once, which might surprise you if you know I grew up Unitarian Universalist. I was in my early teens visiting the Catholic Church in my hometown. The visit was part of my Unitarian Universalist congregation's neighboring faiths curriculum. It was an older curriculum whose goal was to have middle school Unitarian Universalist youth learn about other religions through both study and personal experience, through visiting other faiths. My group arrived early and met the priest at the door. He had been told we were coming, and he welcomed us warmly. My group sat in a row together near the back of the sanctuary, and I sat on the aisle. When it came time in the service for communion, we stayed in our seats as people around us flooded to the front of the sanctuary. And I noticed the priest meandering his way through the crowd, and he came right up to our pew, looked down at me, and motioned for me to get up. So the row got up, and we started down the aisle. The priest had in his eyes, he didn't say anything to me, but his eyes said, "Come. To learn what it means to be Catholic, you have to take communion." Now, we had learned before visiting the Catholic Church that only those who had been confirmed should take communion. But something about this priest's eyes, the invitation, led me and the rest of us unconfirmed Unitarian Universalists to get up and receive communion. The experience is more confounding to me as time goes on. Was this priest defying orders? Did he misunderstand somehow who we were? Or did he really just want us to experience this thing that was supremely sacred to him in order to have just a chance of understanding his religion? I can't go back and ask, and so I have to trust what I felt in that moment, which was that this priest was told that we were learning about Catholicism, that we were not Catholics. And he could not fathom how one could learn about without taking part in this practice of communion. This year, all of you will be invited into a type of program that led me to that Catholic church as a middle schooler. Our youth will be taking part in a twice-monthly world religions curriculum, including visiting different congregations and traditions, communities of faith in Tucson and Pima County. And this year, any adults who are willing to both learn and visit will be invited to join our youth in that program. As we prepare for our youth, and maybe some of you, to learn about and visit other congregations, other faith communities in town, I want to spend some time exploring how to approach a religion, as a Unitarian Universalist, and maybe also as someone who has little to no knowledge of a religion, and maybe too someone who has some baggage, some preconceived notions, some personal experience that tells you who these people are and what they believe. These people, right? Specifically this morning, I want us to explore this little sliver of that conundrum, a cultural misappropriation, how we relate to that concept as Unitarian Universalists, how we can avoid the misappropriation part and have honest and appropriate interactions with religions that are not and might never be ours. Unitarian Universalist Reverend Marjorie Bowens-Wheatley describes cultural misappropriation as, in her words, a form of plagiarism. She describes the act of cultural appropriation as, quote, incorporating language, cultural expressions, forms, lifestyles, rituals, or practices about which there is little basis for direct knowledge, experience, or authenticity into one's being. She says that removing part of a culture from its historical, social, and spiritual roots is a superficial appreciation of another person. And she continues in her essay, which is in this morning's email if you want to read the whole thing. The essay is titled Cornrows, Kwanzaa, and Confusion. She writes this: cultural appropriation is problematic in part because it is rooted in the existing system of white power and privilege and is based on the assumption that indiscriminate intercultural borrowing, transfers, or outright stealing are okay. Ew, I don't want those things to be okay. Cultural misappropriation has been a topic of global discussion recently. Maybe you know where I'm going with this. Breaking, also known as breakdancing, was in the Olympics for the first time this summer. And one Australian athlete, Rachel Gunn, who goes by the B-girl name Ray Gunn, made international news when she scored a 0 on her routine. Across various media, people could tell that Ray Gunn was not up to par with what we would expect of an Olympic athlete. It was clear through her performance that there was an amateur competing on the Olympic stage. Ray Gunn's performance ignited an international conversation about how she got there, what she intended to do or demonstrate, and the cultural misappropriation of not only her performance, but breakdancing at the Olympics in general. In Dr. Stacey Patton's analysis of this controversy, Dr. Stacey Patton is an American journalist and also a Black woman. She started her article by describing the cultural context of breakdancing. Breaking or breakdancing emerged out of the South Bronx in the 1970s. It was, at the time, in Dr. Patton's words, a healthy form of street battle in which teams tried to top their opponents figuratively instead of literally. She writes that breaking was called the most phenomenal dance craze since disco by international papers. And she concludes this contextualization with these words. Breakdancing began as a raw and rebellious art form that would soon become the heartbeat of hip-hop culture and eventually, like many subcultures, become irresistibly intriguing and gradually seep into mainstream consciousness. Flash forward 50 years to breaking being an Olympic sport. Dr. Patton describes in her own analysis how Rachel Gunn's primary error is that her performance was entirely disconnected from the culture of the South Bronx and rebellion. She writes, her viral performance was a modern-day minstrel show where cultural appropriation masqueraded as athleticism, and a global audience was invited to laugh at the crude distortion of a cultural expression once demonized because it originated with Black urban youth. Gunn stripped away the history, socio-political significance, and skill behind breakdancing, reducing it to a caricature for the world to mock. Hard words to take in. Dr. Patton, at the end of her essay, goes on to highlight refugee breakdancer Maniza Talash, who wore a Free Afghan Women cape during her routine and was disqualified for her display of political expression. Dr. Patton argues that Talash, and not Gunn, was the one who was more accurately rooted in the cultural context of breakdancing. She writes, Talash represented the authentic, rebellious spirit of breakdancing, utilizing her platform to confront genuine oppression and risking everything to deliver a significant message. In order to understand a culture or tradition that is not our own, we need to take time to understand the roots, the context of the culture, and understand how that particular context informs the current culture. It is from this place of understanding that we can act inside a culture that is not our own appropriately and respectfully. Coming out of the Olympics world, Dr. Stacy Patton's article, we as Unitarian Universalists have struggled with cultural appropriation and misappropriation as we have sought to become a people who are inclusive of all beliefs. Sometimes, without the cultural and or social context, our spiritual journeying has appropriated other cultures that are not our own, sometimes knowingly, other times not knowingly. Reverend Bowens-Wheatley, who I cited earlier, says later in her essay, I do accept that many of the goals of those who support cross-cultural borrowing, as far as I can discern, are completely honorable. Often the motivation is simply appreciation for some element of a culture. In fact, sometimes the goal is to honor diversity and serve as a means to help break down barriers. She goes on, in general, I do not believe there is an intention of malice or ill will. However, naivete seems to characterize the actions of many who find themselves in a delicate place relative to intercultural relations. Regardless of motive, when cultural borrowing becomes cultural racism, the result is often disrespectful and can be painful to those whose cultural expressions was borrowed. As we look forward to this year of exploring world religions and visiting places of worship whose culture and practice may not be ours to claim, what posture can we assume? Reverend Bowens-Wheatley's answer is that we seek to understand not only the parts of another religions or faith that are interesting or intriguing to us, but all of the history and the racial and social context, some which we don't really want to know about or which we're not as interested in, we think. What we are needing to counteract in this different type of posture is a colonialist mindset, which is embedded in white supremacy culture, which says that white people are permitted to take whatever they need or want, whether that be culture or land. Which sometimes means taking what resonates and leaving out important things, like the first line of the hymn we sang today. A learning posture can help us counteract this colonialist mindset, this colonialist posture. This is a hard one, but a not knowing all the answers posture can help too. A posture that is generally seeking to understand another person and resists internal urges to seek personal benefit might be helpful. Reverend David O. Rankin says in his book, Dancing in Empty Spaces, "I have learned to trust those who are witnesses rather than gurus, those who express their confusion as well as their knowledge, and those who share their suffering along with their joy." I hear in Reverend Rankin's words an invitation to free ourselves from the pressure of needing to know it all. He gives us permission to be confused and to not need to solve the problem. He gives us the framework we need to be in a learning posture. And Reverend Rankin's words echo the advice from our reading to simply be present to another culture or religion that is not our own, entering into another's religion carefully, with reverence, lest we forget, in Deacon Warren's words, that God was there before our arrival. So this year, if we are to approach another's religion, let us approach it as witnesses rather than gurus. Let us prepare to experience something that will change our minds. Let us ask questions that we genuinely do not know the answers to. Let us take the invitation to experience and understand another's faith. Let us seek to understand the wholeness and not just the pieces. May we be good learners, always seeking, always growing, always changing.
One Sunday every month is designated for Share the Plate. During that Sunday, we give half of all our non-pledged collection to a community organization whose mission we support as a community. Generosity is a spiritual practice, and Share the Plate is an expression of our mission. The Tucson Audubon Society is our Share the Plate recipient this month. And Erica Fries is supposed to be here. Erica? Looks like we didn't make it today. So Erica did send us some great slides to share with you today about the Tucson Audubon Society. If we could see those. Tucson Audubon Society, inspiring people to enjoy, protect birds through recreation, education, conservation, restoration of the environment upon which we all depend. They support recreational birding throughout Tucson, adult and youth education opportunities and classes, invasive plant management, because you guys know we have a lot of really invasive species that unwary people brought in that damage our environment, and Audubon Society really helps remove and maintain our natural foliage to support our natural wildlife. Habitat restoration. Projects that involve habitat restoration is a big part of what the Audubon Society does for our community. They want to remove hazards from our environment to birds and the habitats of their home. They go through communities and help support and maintain structure that encourages our natural birds and wildlife. This is their plug to come visit their nature shop, where they have all kinds of bird-related accessories for all of us birders. We got a lot here in Tucson. There's an address. They also invite you to the Mason Center, which is a 20-acre, nearly pristine saguaro ironwood habitat. They have feeders and trails for all your photo options and your observations. Bring your bird book. They also have the Patton Center for Hummingbirds, and the address is no longer on the screen, which is in Patagonia, Arizona, if you want to make a trip to get extra hummingbird time out in the wild. It is delightful. So if you want to find out more, there's a QR code. You can become an Audubon member and a sustaining member if you want. But today, 50% of what you donate, if you designate share the plate only in the check line, 50% of the cash, and then if you give a check or you donate online, you really need to signify share the plate so we know how to designate the funds in order to support the Audubon Society. This church is supported by voluntary generosity of our parishioners. So join with us, and the offering will now be given and gratefully received, a significant emblem of our shared values and hopes. And the ushers will now come around. Thank you for your ongoing generosity. Got some announcements. Who likes snacks? Who likes snacks? We have enhanced coffee hour today. We're happy to receive your donations, but it is free, and there are, I heard, extra snacks, which my 6-year-old will be very excited to hear because the joy of snacks is universal. That will be over in Goddard Hall. Goddard Hall, for those of you that are new, is across the patio. If you are new to UUC, we ask that you stay in touch with us. And you can fill out a guest information card in the Welcome Center over there in Goddard during social hour. And you can also find us, if you're online, at our virtual guest information card. It's in the newcomer section of our website. Hi. I believe Jody is here. No, Jody. We will be having announcements soon more about Jamili's ordination coming up. So keep tuned to the e-blast and more to come next Sunday on that. Our children are here. They've rejoined us. So now Brian will lead us in our gratitude song to welcome them back. The words will appear on the screen.
Community for gifts we share and how we show our love and care. With thinking minds and helping hands, we'll build a place where love and hope expand.
Spiritual Journeys by Jamili Omar. One of the things about Unitarian Universalism that draws many people is how we honor the spiritual and religious diversity that dwells here. A great many of us come to Unitarian Universalism from other faith traditions. We have left those communities for a great many more reasons, but we might carry bits and pieces from that time forward with us. Others of us grew up in Unitarian Universalism, and through our experiences here, we have found practices or beliefs that nurture us to become our highest selves. Still, others of us grew up without an official faith and might now even check boxes like none or spiritual but not religious when we are asked, "What is your religion?" We too find inspirations in beliefs, habits, and practices from the communities around us. And we have all found our way here to this tradition or faith or religion or community or whatever you call it in your heart. We are here together. Knowing we all believe so many different things, how do we communicate with one another? In interfaith community circles, people use lots of metaphors about spiritual truths and specifically understanding the beliefs of people who have different ones from yourself, which, let's be honest, is everyone you meet, including the person right next to you. Some say that God or religion or truth is like a big lake. All the animals in the forest come to the same lake to drink, but they don't all drink in the same way. The deer bends its neck to reach the water. The dog snuffles and snorts as it splashes around the water. The fish swim in the water all day. And the flamingo looks fabulous as it goes about its business. Cats? Well, cats expect their water served by a butler on a saucer and plate. Still, other people say that religion is like climbing a great mountain. They say all religions climb up a mountain in different ways. Some will be methodical in their approach. Some will stop at every turn for a reading from a common text. And others will carry a rug or a mat. And on and on. Each climbs the mountain in their own way, their own tradition, and when they get to the top, they see that all the other religions have gotten there too. Through this metaphor, God, the divine, or truth is known through many religions, not just one. Other metaphors say there isn't even one mountain, but many mountains with different views of the valley below. Each faith has a different destination, and to make it even more complex, there are different paths up each of these mountains. Maybe a different path for each of the 7 billion of us on Earth. So in the end, doesn't matter what the lake is, what's at the top of the mountain, whether there's one mountain or many, or a completely different metaphor? Well, on the one hand, no, because here we don't believe that one path up the mountain or one understanding of what the lake is more right or better than any of the others. Here, we believe that all are encouraged to find their own path up the mountain, or not even climb the mountain, but to sit and have a picnic by a lovely stream if they choose to. Here, we believe that all are important no matter where or how or what their path is. Here, we believe that it is our responsibility to make the path more accessible so everyone can travel it if they wish. Here, we believe that all are whole and holy just as they are. Yes, even you. So no, what the lake or mountain is, or even if it exists at all, doesn't matter. But also, yes, it matters deeply to each of us what our own journeys are and the beliefs we have taken up along the way. And we know that while we won't believe alike, no matter what, we love alike. And we will continue on our journey together. And that is enough for me.
Joyce Poley, the composer of our last hymn today, is a songwriting treasure. She's a friend and collaborator to the Reverend Agnes Paulson, longtime the emeritus music minister of this congregation, and has, in teaching me, although I'm not a better songwriter from her lessons, has taught me to be more present in the lyrics that I sing for any of the song, and I'm grateful for that. Would you rise as you are able and sing "When Our Heart is in a Holy Place," 1008 in the Teal hymnal for those that choose to follow that way. The words will be projected on the screen. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when we trust the wisdom in each of us, every color, every creed and kind, and we see our faces in each other's eyes, then our heart is in a holy place. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when we tell our story from deep inside, and we listen with a loving mind, and we hear our voices in each other's words, then our heart is in a holy place. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when we share the silence of sacred space, and the God of our heart stirs within, and we feel the power of each other's faith, then our heart is in a holy place. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place. Last line. When our heart is in a holy place. Thank you.
I invite you to join me in saying our final words today of chalice distinguishing in closing. I will say the words in the plain font, and I invite you to help me read the italicized words. These words come from the Unitarian Universal Reverend R. Brugnola, Orlando R. Brugnola. As we move through life, finding ourselves, We ask that our mistakes be small and not hurtful. We do not forget our innocence, for they are both part of the whole.